Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are tuning in to the next edition of Brahma Viharas. Brahma Vihara, a Pali word or a term, also in Sanskrit, translates to the home of the gods or the dwelling of the gods. From the traditions from which these come from, the Brahma Viharas, these are considered to be, quite important, as you can imagine. They're considered to be the home of the gods. And the Brahma Viharas traditionally are loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And we're currently in chapter 2, the chapter on compassion. I did 17 episodes of loving kindness. That was chapter 1. Over the past couple of weeks. Don't worry, these are standalone sessions. If you missed those and you're just joining me today, you don't have to have seen all of the episodes for this to make sense. Now, I mentioned loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Those are the traditional Brahma Viharas, but today we're taking a little detour into a practice of forgiveness. And I'm doing this because one of the comments I got a request. Can I do a forgiveness meditation practice? And so I thought, yeah, sure, of course. Forgiveness meditations are often taught in conjunction with the Brahma Viharas, because we are using the Brahma Viharas, we're using the practices of loving kindness and compassion to widen our circle of care. So we start with ourselves, and then we start with loved ones, and then strangers. Our circle of care is getting larger, then with perceived enemies, and then extending these qualities of loving kindness and compassion, joy and equanimity, eventually to the whole world. Now, in that widening of the circle of care, inevitably we run into people for whom we have some resentment towards, perhaps, or some anger towards, maybe that we feel that they have transgressed against us in some way. That's actually quite normal. So we step away from the practice at that point if that's a really heavy resentment or anger, and then we do the practice of forgiveness. Now, this allows us to take that stone of resentment and anger and pull it out of the heart. And so we pull that resentment out of our heart and we put it down on the ground. And in doing that, we're more available to respond effectively to the present moment. We're more available to receive what the present moment is bringing us, like that. Not only are we more available for loving kindness for all beings, but we're more responsive in general to the present moment situation. It's one of the great, great benefits of forgiveness meditation. Now, forgiveness meditation can be done without the other Brahma Viharas as well. If you just want to do a forgiveness practice, perhaps there's somebody you know in your environment who you have some resentment towards, or some anger, or even envy or jealousy. Forgiveness practice can be really wonderful for untying those knots. Now again, it's about us. It's about our own heart, not about the other person so much. In fact, they probably don't even know that we are practicing forgiveness with that. Doesn't matter whether they ever experience that or know it or not. It's really so we can free our own heart. These practices actually change how we might perceive and feel about those past transgressions, both past transgressions that we've had done unto us and transgressions we've committed against others. And then we extend forgiveness to the transgressions we've committed towards ourselves too. So the practice unfolds in 3 stages: working with others and working with ourselves as well. It's quite beautiful. Now, forgiveness practice is not about condoning bad behavior. If somebody has really transgressed against us, we're not saying that's okay, that behavior. And because we've forgiven somebody, it doesn't mean we want to necessarily allow that person back into our life or into our circle of friends. It simply means that we're, again, taking the resentment and the anger and the hurt and saying, I'm done with that now. Let me heal, and then I can move forward like that. So again, not about condoning, not about saying what they did is okay, but about moving forward into the present moment more freely, more lightly, more available. Now, sometimes it's more difficult to forgive than not to forgive. Oftentimes we feel like we want to hold on to that anger, to that resentment. That's actually quite common. But again, that's not productive for embracing the present moment. So that's when the practice might get a bit challenging, when we want to hold on to that. Sometimes this happens if it's a relationship from many years ago. We might feel that anger or that resentment is the only thing we have left of that relationship. And in letting that go, we might feel that there's nothing left. But from my own experience, what I've come to discover is that when I let that resentment go, when I move into forgiveness for a relationship that's years and years past, more beautiful memories come in like that. So it's about opening and being available to that. So when we forgive, we can really recognize that I am not that person, and the other person is not the same person either. That every day we change and we grow and we learn something. So if I'm working with somebody who has transgressed against me, for example, they are not that person any longer. As long as it happened more than 12 hours ago, they are a different person. And I am a different person too. And so from that place, moving into forgiveness, we can start fresh. Now, forgiveness meditation is a delicate practice. Go slow and always use a healthy dose of self-compassion. Now, I've mentioned before my diagram on the too hot zone, and I'm just going to show that again here once again. So it's 3 circles like that. The bullseye circle, that's the comfort zone. And when we start the meditation, we start in the breath, we start going through the sounds and the silence, experiencing the body, allowing the present moment experiences to ground us into here and now. That's the comfort zone, more or less the comfort zone. Could be some of the challenge zone too, there. And then so we're ideally resting in between the comfort zone and the challenge zone. The challenge zone is the second circle right there. Now when we start working into forgiveness meditation, we'll be offering phrases of forgiveness into the situation. I'm going to go into that in a moment. And using sometimes visualizations or imagination can be stimulated with those phrases, and that helps to facilitate the experience of forgiveness. So when that starts happening, sometimes we get into the too hot zone, which is the outer circle here. That's too hot. That'll feel like you're getting really tense in the body perhaps, or tense in the heart, tension in the mind. You might feel like crying or resisting against the practice. At that point, we're in the too hot zone. So if that occurs, there's nothing wrong with that happening. There's just not a lot of growth that can happen at that point because we're too caught in the resistance towards the practice. So we then can come back to the present moment, hearing the sounds of the present moment, whatever's happening in the aural field, and then perhaps noticing the sensations of the feet against the floor, clothing against the body, maybe noticing the weight of the body against the chair, and so like that. So in coming back to the present moment, that'll bring you back into the comfort zone. So ideally, where the most growth happens is in between the comfort zone and the challenge zone. The challenge zone is really where all the growth, well, most of the growth happens, like that. Once we get into the too hot zone, there's resistance against the practice, and not a lot of growth happens there. Not a lot of forgiveness happens in the too hot zone, like that. So do go slow. A healthy dose of self-compassion, very, very important. Let's see. So as we're going through the practice, we'll be offering phrases into the present moment silence, the awareness that we cultivate at the beginning of the practice. We offer, there's just 3 phrases. If I have hurt or harmed anyone, knowingly or unknowingly, I ask their forgiveness. And so I'll go through that phrase, and then we'll just sit for maybe a minute and a half. There might be visualizations that arise. We might remember somebody that we've hurt, or somebody that we think we might have hurt or harmed. We might visualize giving them a flower, something like that. That's up to you. There might not be any visualization, but just feeling the body respond, the mind and the heart respond to the phrase, that works well too. Then we change the phrase to, if anyone has hurt or harmed me, knowingly or unknowingly, I forgive them. And again, we'll go into that phrase, we'll rest there, meditate on that phrase for maybe a minute and a half or so. Now, if your mind starts to wander, that's okay, that happens sometimes. Just come back to the present moment, and if you can remember the phrase, bring the phrase up silently to yourself again. You don't have to wait for me to repeat the phrase like that. If you're distracted by your thoughts, you can label those thoughts thinking, bring yourself back to the present moment, and just reinstate the phrase silently to yourself. Then the final phrase, ways I have hurt or harmed myself, knowingly or unknowingly, I offer myself forgiveness, like that. And so again, resting for a minute or two, visualizing or just feeling the phrase like that. After the 3 phrases, we'll then let the visualizations go, let the emotions settle, and come back into the present moment like that. So that's how the forgiveness practice works. Okay, I think that's all I want to say. So I'll ring the bell. I'll guide us into the sounds, then the body and the breath. We'll go into the forgiveness practice, and then we'll come back to the present moment at the end. Okay, enjoy forgiveness meditation. So allowing the body, mind, and heart to settle. Noticing the sounds which surround you at this present moment. You don't have to label or focus on any sound, but just allow the sounds to arise and move and pass through your awareness. And right now I'll ring the sound of the meditation bell. Rest your awareness on the sound of the bell. Allow the decay of the bell to guide your awareness into silence. And resting in the silence of the present moment, also noticing the sounds, which might seem as if they arise out of the silence and return back to that silent space. Now ring the sound of the bell again. Rest your thinking mind on the decay of the bell. Allow the bell to guide your awareness into silence. And resting there in the silence of the present moment, noticing the sounds, you don't need to focus or label on any particular sound. Just simply noticing all of the sounds all at the same time. And in addition to the silence and the sound of the present moment, bring attention and awareness to the sensations of the feet against the mat or the floor, sensations of clothing against the legs, noticing the weight of the body against the cushion, chair, mat, or floor. You might notice sensations of clothing against the back, and perhaps also noticing the hands resting against the body or touching each other. Noticing the arms resting against the body. Sensations of clothing against the shoulders. You might also notice sensations arising from the back of the neck and the sides of the neck. Sensations arising from the back of the head and the ears. There might be sensations arising from the cheeks of the face, the lips and the nose, the eyes and the forehead. Noticing any sensations arising from the top of the head. And while resting there with the sounds and the silence, the sensations of the body, bringing attention to the breath as it enters and leaves the nose. You might notice the breath touching the back of the throat, perhaps simply noticing the temperature changing from cooler to warmer as you breathe in and breathe out. Noticing the rib cage expanding and contracting with each breath. The rising and falling of the abdomen as you inhale and exhale. You might also notice the back moving out as you breathe in as you breathe out. Noticing the shoulders rising and falling with each breath. And so we'll rest right there just for a few moments, resting with the sound and silence, sensations of body and breath, and just rest, breathing in and breathing out. And now, while resting in the silence, the sounds, the sensations of breath and body, we'll begin offering up these precious phrases of forgiveness. First, asking for forgiveness from those that we feel we have hurt or harmed. If I have hurt or harmed anyone, knowingly or unknowingly, I ask their forgiveness. If I have hurt or harmed anyone, knowingly or unknowingly, I ask their forgiveness. If I have hurt or harmed anyone, knowingly or unknowingly, I ask their forgiveness. If I have hurt or harmed anyone, knowingly or unknowingly, I ask their forgiveness. If I have hurt or harmed anyone, knowingly or unknowingly, I ask their forgiveness. And now we'll turn our attention to people we feel that have hurt us, offering them the gifts of forgiveness. If anyone has hurt or harmed me, knowingly or unknowingly, I forgive them. If anyone has hurt or harmed me, knowingly or unknowingly, I forgive them. If anyone has hurt or harmed me, knowingly or unknowingly. I forgive them. If anyone has hurt or harmed me, knowingly or unknowingly, I forgive them. And now we'll turn our focus and our attention to ourself, offering forgiveness to ourself, the ways we might have inflicted hurt or harm onto our own being. For all of the ways I may have hurt or harmed myself, knowingly or unknowingly, I offer forgiveness. For all of the ways I may have hurt or harmed myself, knowingly or unknowingly, I offer forgiveness. For all of the ways I may have hurt or harmed myself, knowingly or unknowingly, I offer forgiveness. for all of the ways I may have hurt or harmed myself, knowingly or unknowingly. I offer forgiveness. And breathing in and breathing out, allowing any visualizations which arose to dissolve. You can allow those to fade back into the open, spacious awareness from which they came. Bringing attention and awareness to the sounds of the present moment, and simply listening to the soundtrack of this very present moment. And you might also notice a silence underneath the sounds or surrounding the sounds. And while resting there with the silence and sound of the present moment, bringing awareness and attention to the sensations of feet against the mat or the floor, sensations of clothing against the legs. You might notice the weight of the body against the cushion or chair, mat or floor. Sensations of clothing against the back. There might be sensations of hands resting against the body or touching each other. The arms resting against the body. Noticing the sensations of clothing against the shoulders. And you might also notice sensations arising from the back of the neck, the ears, the cheeks of the face. Noticing any sensations arising from the top of the head. And while resting with the present moment experience of sound and silence, sensations of the body, noticing the breath as it enters and leaves the nose, the breath touching the back of the throat, noticing the rib cage expanding and contracting with each breath, the rising and falling of the abdomen as you inhale and exhale. Noticing the back moving out as you breathe in as you breathe out. The shoulders rising and falling with each breath. And we'll rest right there just for a few moments, resting in this present moment experience, the sounds of the present moment, the silence, the sensations of the breath and body, and just rest. So I hope you all enjoyed my offering today on forgiveness. This was a forgiveness meditation practice. It was actually designed by the great insight teacher Sharon Salzberg. If you're not familiar with Sharon's work, please do check her out. She's got a wonderful book entitled Loving Kindness. It's a great, great book, one of my favorites. Of course, I give my own twist to the practice, my own flavor to it. So I hope you did enjoy that. Tomorrow I will be back. We're resuming the chapter on compassion, and we will be going through a practice sending compassion to a loved one. Now I am accumulating a few questions, but I have room for more. If there are any questions, I'm hosting a Q&A at some point this week when I get enough questions to create an entire episode, which I pretty much already have. So maybe the day after tomorrow, Q&A. But if you do have any questions or comments, do write them here on the comments below the video, or send them through Messenger. And I'm happy to address those at the next Q&A session. Tomorrow, compassion for our loved ones. Beautiful practice. Stay safe, stay clean, stay healthy. Wear your masks, practice your social distancing, and we'll get through all of this insanity together. Thank you very much.